I'm Mira Kira. The World Cup opens in Mexico, but this story is bigger than football. Azteca is not just a stadium, it's a signal. Before Shakira sings a single note, before the flags and the vuvuzelas and 87,000 voices wake up this stadium, there is this, a tunnel. Dark, damp, concrete, the sound of your own footsteps. The 2026 FIFA World Cup does not begin in a normal stadium. It begins in a place people say never really sleeps. Today, June 11th, 2026. Mexico versus South Africa, the opening match of the biggest World Cup in history. Welcome to Estadio Azteca. The stadium the whole world calls the Aztec, the cathedral that has been quietly collecting ghosts for 60 years. Let me put this in terms that matter to you. If you've ever watched the U.S. men's national team play soccer, you already know this stadium, not from winning, from nightmares. The U.S. men's national team has never won an official match at the Azteca. 0 wins. Over a decade of attempts, every single time they walked into this building and didn't walk out with 3 points. There is a scoreline American fans celebrate called 2-0, 2-0, against Mexico on U.S. soil. The Americans hold the edge. But here, at the Azteca, different stadium, different planet, over 87,000 fans, 1.25 miles up in the sky, an air so thin it feels like breathing through wet sand. The Azteca wasn't built to be fair, it was built to be unreachable. And today it doesn't belong to the US, today it belongs to El Tri, and Mexico City just declared it an official public holiday. Let's talk about how this place was made, and what it may have cost. The story begins in the early 1960s. Two powerful Mexican media figures, Emilio Azcárraga Milmo and Guillermo Cañedo, decided Mexico needed a stadium unlike anything in Latin America. They commissioned architects Pedro Ramirez Vázquez and Rafael Mijares Alcerica to build it. Ramirez Vázquez was no ordinary architect. He would go on to design the National Museum of Anthropology and the Basilica of Guadalupe, two of the most iconic structures in the Western Hemisphere. For him, this was not a sports venue. It was a monument. 800 workers, 35 engineers. Construction ran 24 hours a day, and when they started digging into the ancient soil of the Valley of Mexico, they found bones. Mammoth bones, confirmed, documented discoveries, the remains of Ice Age mammoths, animals that roamed this valley 10,000 years ago. The ground they built on was already a graveyard of giants. The stadium opened May 29, 1966, Club America versus Torino FC, a 2-2 draw, in front of the Mexican president and the president of FIFA. But before the concrete had fully set, the stories had already begun. Let me be clear, what follows is urban legend. Folklore, stories passed down through generations, repeated in corridors and locker rooms and late-night security shifts. The first legend lives inside the pillars. Records suggest approximately 12 workers lost their lives during construction of the Azteca. That number, while not precise, has been documented, but the legend is darker. It says some of those men, caught in the chaos of a critical concrete pour, were never recovered, that the decision was made to keep working, to seal them inside, to entomb them in the foundations of a temple to football, a sacrifice, a human price for a cathedral. Local workers call it superstition as old as the stadium itself. Structures built with blood inside them don't just stand, they breathe. When 90,000 fans jump at the same moment, and you can feel the entire structure shake. Some say it isn't just vibration. Some say it's a heartbeat. The tunnels belong to someone else. This story begins in the late 1960s, not long after the stadium opened. An alleged crowd disturbance during a major event, a human avalanche in the stands. Fans falling, crushing, running in panic. In the chaos, urban legend says, a boy of around 10 years old fell. The stampede didn't stop. The child did not make it. And according to night shift security guards, maintenance crews, and workers who have spent years in this building, he never left. They report shadows darting through empty passageways after midnight, cold spots in sealed corridors, the sound of a ball bouncing in areas completely locked down with no one inside. A Univision camera crew once entered the Azteca at night specifically to investigate. On film, they captured what appears to be the silhouette of a small child moving through a tunnel. They couldn't explain it, Nobody has been able to. The legend says he came to watch a game, and he simply never went home. But perhaps the most haunting presence in this stadium is the one you can see in broad daylight. In 2001, to celebrate the Azteca's 35th anniversary, Televisa Deportes held a contest. Find Club America's most loyal fan. Among thousands of entries, one man stood out. His name, Ignacio Villanueva Aguirre, known to everyone as Nashito. He didn't come with a speech or a banner. He came with a box, stuffed with ticket stubs from every Club America match he attended over 20 years. Every home game, every away game, every friendly. Not one missed. He won in silence. The box said everything. His prize, a bronze statue installed in the Azteca's stands, sitting frozen in a seat, fists raised, mouth open, celebrating a goal that never ends. What happened next is its own ghost story. Nachito eventually left Mexico to study in the United States. When he returned and went back to the stadium to reclaim his lifetime free tickets, the administration told him things had changed. Management was new. The deal was dead. He received nothing. The man who loved this stadium more than anyone was shown the door, but the statue stayed. And according to workers who patrol the stadium after hours, the statue is not quiet. Urban legend, and it is urban legend, claims the figure's posture shifts between visits, that its bronze eyes seem to track you across an empty stand, that during massive matches, stadium staff have described the figure feeling more present, a fan whose love was so permanent, so heavy, that even the bronze remembers what the institution forgot. Maybe the ghosts of the Azteca were never supernatural. Maybe the ghosts are football itself. This is the only stadium on Earth where both Pelé and Maradona lifted the World Cup. 1970, Brazil versus Italy in the final, played right here. Pelé led Brazil to a 4-1 victory that many still consider the greatest team performance in World Cup history. And then, 1986, Diego Maradona, same stadium, a quarter-final against England. In the same match, Maradona performed two of the most famous acts in sports history. First, the hand of God, a goal punched in with his fist, seen by the world. Denied by Maradona, a moment so brazen it became mythology. Then, 4 minutes later, the goal of the century. 60 yards, 5 English players left on the grass. Still voted the greatest goal ever scored. Both goals, same afternoon, same pitch, right here. And then the 1986 final, Argentina versus West Germany, 1-3-2. Also here, no stadium holds this weight. The Azteca doesn't just host football, it stores it. Like a vault, no one can fully open, but everyone can feel. And now today, the vault opens again. Here is the story the numbers don't tell you. In 2010, Mexico traveled to Johannesburg for the opening match of the World Cup. They walked into a wall of vuvuzelas, a hostile electric home crowd, and drew 1-1 with South Africa. Today, 16 years later, the same two countries, the same opening match slot. But the altitude belongs to Mexico now. The 87,000 voices belong to Mexico. The mythology belongs to Mexico. South Africa arrives, back at a World Cup for the first time since they hosted it, walking into the loudest, strangest, most layered football atmosphere on the planet. Guillermo Ochoa, 41 years old, making his 6th World Cup appearance, stands in goal for El Tri. The first stadium in history to host 3 different World Cups. The first World Cup to feature 48 nations. A tournament that ends at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey and begins right here. Everything that happens next in this tournament begins here. Before the US matches, before the knockouts, before the final, it starts here, in a stadium built on mammoth bones and worker legends. In tunnels where a ghost child never quite left, in the presence of a bronze fan whose club forgot him but whose statue never moved. When the first whistle blows today, it will not only open a tournament, it will wake a stadium that has been collecting ghosts for 60 years. This is Kira's Sports Lab. The game has already started. If this signal pulled you in, share it, like the video, and subscribe. More stories are coming. Mira Kira out.